The air was unusually cool that evening as I parked outside our house. The scent of freshly mowed grass hit me, but it didn't bring the usual calm. I've been working late for weeks, secretly planning a surprise trip for us to Santorini after the wedding. Just 2 weeks. Our future together felt so close, almost tangible, that I stepped out of the car and glanced up at the house. Everything seemed normal, but something stirred inside me, an unease I couldn't quite place. As I approached the door, I caught a glimpse of movement in the window. For a fleeting moment, I thought it was her excited to see me. When I opened the door, she was there, but not in the way I expected. Emily, my fiancée, stood in the doorway where I was, wearing a sleek black cocktail dress, her hair perfectly styled. She looked beautiful, but the tension in her face said otherwise. "You look stunning," I said, trying to mask my confusion. Did I forget about something special? Her lips trembled into a strange smile. "No, there's nothing you forgot. We need to talk." Those words, they hit me like a punch to the gut. Whenever anyone says them, it's never good. Behind her, near the door, I noticed a travel bag. "Going somewhere?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She hesitated before answering. "I need some space just for the weekend." "The weekend?" I repeated, my mind racing. "Emily, the wedding is 2 weeks away. What could be so urgent now?" Her gaze darted away. "I've been feeling overwhelmed. Work, wedding plans. I need to clear my head." It didn't add up. "Clear your head," I repeated, incredulous. "Where? With who?" Her silence was the first crack. Then, almost too softly, she said, "With a friend." I froze. "A friend?" My stomach churned. "Is this friend a man?" Her hesitation sealed it. "It's not what you think," she stammered to him. My chest tightened as I fought to keep calm. "Then tell me, what is it?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "It's just someone I've been talking to. I needed someone to confide in." My hands clenched in a fist. "Someone? Who? Emily? Who is he?" She didn't answer right away. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said his name. Ryan, that name. It was like a knife twisting in my gut. I pressed her further, and the truth started spilling out in fragments. She had been talking to him for months. At first, she swore it was innocent, but as the story unraveled, it became clear this wasn't just a conversation. This was betrayal. "You've been planning a life with me, Emily," I said, my voice cracking with disbelief. "And all this time, you've been sneaking around with him?" Her tears flowed freely now. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I love you, but I felt like I was missing something." "Missing something?" I repeated, anger flaring. "You were missing something. So you decided to destroy everything we've built? For what? A fling?" She sobbed harder, but didn't deny it that I stepped back. My voice cold. "If you walk out that door, Emily, don't bother coming back. This is it." For a moment, she stood frozen, clutching her bag. Then, with a whispered, "I'm sorry," she turned and left. The sound of the door closing behind her echoed in my chest. I stood there, staring at the empty space where she had been, the life we had planned crumbling around me. But that night, as I sat in the dim glow of the living room, nursing a glass of whiskey, one thought burned brighter than the rest. This wasn't over. The following morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a bitter taste of whiskey still lingering. But the ache in my chest was far worse. The betrayal was raw, gnawing at my insides. I couldn't sit idle. I needed answers. Her words from last night replayed in my mind. Ryan. That name was all I had to go on, but it was enough. I reached out to Liam, an old college friend who had turned into a skilled private investigator. "Liam," I said, trying to steady my voice, "I need a favor." "What's going on?" he asked. "Emily's been seeing someone else." I confessed, the words bitter on my tongue. "I need to know everything about him." There was a pause before Liam replied, "Send me what you know, and I'll get to work." I hung up, my heart pounding. This was step one. I had to know who this guy was before I could decide what came next. Later that day, Liam called back. His name's Ryan Caldwell, he said. He works with her. He's her manager. Divorced early 40s, no kids. They've been meeting after work, grabbing drinks, dinners. And last night, they checked into a hotel downtown. My grip on the phone tightened. Do you have proof? I've got photos and receipts, Liam said. I'll send them over. When the email arrived, I forced myself to open it. Photo after photo showed Emily and Ryan together, laughing at a restaurant, walking hand in hand into a hotel. Each image was like a dagger twisting deeper into my chest that I stared at the photos for what felt like hours. The anger simmering just beneath the surface. She had lied to my face, thrown away everything we built for him. But she hadn't counted on me fighting back, that I wasn't going to let this go quietly, that I leaned back in my chair, staring at the photos Liam had sent. My chest burned, but my mind raced with clarity for the first time since Emily walked out the door. She thought I'd sit quietly, wallowing in heartbreak, while she ran off with Ryan. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The first step was preparation. I reached out to Sarah, my lawyer. Sarah, it's urgent. I need to protect everything I own. My house accounts, car, all of it. She listened carefully as I explained the situation, her voice sharp and efficient. Since you're not married yet, she has no legal claim to your assets. But I'll make sure everything is locked down, just in case. By the end of the day, everything was secure. Emily might have walked out on me, but she wasn't walking away with anything else. That evening, Liam called back with an update. You're going to love this, he said, his tone carrying a hint of triumph. Your boy Ryan isn't as squeaky clean as he seems. Turns out he's been embezzling money from the company for years. It's subtle, but there's enough to bury him. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. Send me everything you've got. Already on its way, Liam replied. When the files arrived, I pored over every detail. Ryan wasn't just a liar and a cheater. He was a thief. I couldn't have asked for better ammunition. The next morning, I crafted an email from an anonymous account. It contained the incriminating photos of Emily and Ryan, along with a scathing message about their affair. I hit send, distributing it to Emily's closest friends, her family, and a few of her colleagues. But I wasn't done. Using the embezzlement evidence Liam had uncovered, I sent another email, this one to Ryan's company's HR and legal departments. I laid out every detail, attaching the proof. By the end of the week, the fallout was spectacular. Emily's phone was flooded with calls and messages. Her mother left a furious voicemail, practically disowning her. Friends turned their backs on her, and whispers of the scandal spread like wildfire. Ryan didn't fear any better. By Friday, he was escorted out of his office, his reputation in tatters. But I wasn't satisfied yet done on Saturday evening. Emily showed up at my doorstep. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying. She looked like a shell of the woman who had walked out on me days earlier. Please, she said, her voice trembling. Can we talk? I crossed my arms, leaning against the door frame. What could you possibly have to say, Emily? Tears streamed down her face. I made a mistake. I didn't know what I was thinking. I was scared of losing myself before the wedding. But I know now. I love you. I've always loved you. I let out a bitter laugh. Love? Is that what you were thinking about when you walked into that hotel with Ryan? It wasn't like that. She protested, her voice breaking. Don't lie to me. I snapped, my voice echoing in the still evening air. I gave you every chance to be honest, Emily, and you chose to betray me. You destroyed everything. Her sobs grew louder. I'll do anything to make this right, she pleaded. Please give me a second chance. I leaned in, my voice low and cold. You don't get a second chance. Not after what you've done. She collapsed onto the porch, crying uncontrollably, but I didn't care. I had nothing left to give her. Leave, I said, stepping back inside. We're done. As I shut the door, I felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time in days, the weight on my chest lifted. But there was still one final piece of business to handle that a few days later. Liam called again, and his voice carried the weight of victory. Ryan's been officially charged, he said. The company handed everything over to the authorities. They're investigating the embezzlement, and it's not looking good for him. He's facing jail time. I leaned back, satisfaction washing over me. Good. He deserves everything coming to him. But there's more, Liam continued. Turns out Ryan was involved in some other shady dealings, tax evasion and fraudulent contracts. Once the investigators dug in, they found enough to guarantee he'll be in court for a while. That was the icing on the cake. Not only was Ryan's professional life in ruins, but his personal life was about to follow. The final piece of my plan unfolded the next week. I compiled the evidence of Emily's affair and forwarded it to her company's CEO. While she wasn't involved in Ryan's financial crimes, the scandal was enough to tarnish her reputation. Within days, Emily was called into HR and terminated for violating company policy. The fallout was swift and brutal. Without a job, Emily moved back in with her parents. Mutual friends told me she was struggling, trying to pick up the pieces of her life. I didn't feel pity. I felt justified. She had made her choice, and now she was living with the consequences that I asked for Ryan. His downfall was even more satisfying. He lost everything. His job, his credibility, and soon his freedom. A few months later, Liam sent me a text. Ryan's been sentenced 3 years for fraud. It's over. I stared at the message for a long time, a sense of peace finally settling in. Ryan had tried to take everything from me, but in the end, I had taken everything from him. Months passed, and I focused on rebuilding my life. The engagement ring Emily left behind was sold, and I donated the money to a local nonprofit. The house we had planned to share was put on the market, and I moved to a new city. A fresh start point one quiet afternoon, as I sat on the balcony of my new apartment, sipping coffee, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam, just checking in. How's the new place? I replied with a photo of the view. Better than I expected. Thanks for everything. You've earned it. He wrote back to AS. I put the phone down. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Emily's betrayal had almost broken me, but I came out stronger. I learned the value of my own resilience and the importance of trusting myself. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, I realized one thing for sure. This wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning of something better. The months that followed weren't easy, but they were necessary. Every day, I peeled back layers of pain and resentment, piece by piece, rebuilding who I was before Emily and Ryan tore through my life. Therapy helped, not just to process the betrayal, but to understand how I let myself trust so completely without question. The therapist, Dr. Harper, was blunt but effective. You've been through hell, she said in one session, but that doesn't mean you stay there. You can let this define you, or you can redefine yourself. Her words stuck with me that I started setting new goals. Fitness became my outlet. The gym turned into my sanctuary, a place where I could focus all the anger and hurt into something tangible. By the end of 6 months, I hardly recognized myself in the mirror. The physical changes were just a start. They symbolized a deeper transformation that I took risks in other areas of my life too. Work became more than just a paycheck. I threw myself in a project I once thought were out of my league. I pitched ideas in meetings, networked with industry leaders, and even started taking night classes and business management. The small victories added up, and soon I wasn't just surviving. I was thriving. Meanwhile, Emily's life continued to spiral. A mutual friend, Jenna, occasionally shared updates. She's still living with her parents. Jenna told me one day over coffee, "It's bad. She's been trying to find work, but no one wants to hire her after what happened. She made her choices." I said, My tone even. Jenna gave me a long look. You're different now. I smiled faintly. I have to be. The true test of my transformation came a year later. I was attending a conference in the city, networking with other professionals when I spotted her. Emily. She looked almost unrecognizable. The confident, polished woman I once loved was now a shadow of herself. Her hair was pulled back messily. Her clothes looked wrinkled, and there was a nervous energy about her. She saw me before I could turn away. Her eyes widened, and she quickly made her way over. "Hi," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Emily," I replied curtly. She hesitated, then blurted out, "I've been wanting to talk to you." I raised an eyebrow. "About what?" She fidgeted, wringing her hands. "About everything. What happened between us? What I did. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I need you to know how sorry I am." I stared at her for a long moment, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Finally, I said, "I've moved on, Emily. You should too." Her face crumpled, but I didn't stay to see more. I walked away, feeling no anger, no pain, just relieved up by the time I left the conference. I felt lighter. Seeing her had been the final step in letting go. She was a chapter in my life, but the book was far from over. That evening, I stood on my balcony, looking out at the city lights. The world felt full of possibilities, and for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see where life would take me next.